Greetings, this is Scott. I'm going to go into a little bit of the air permit searches for Donaldsonville and using the LDQ air system that I was shown. And this is just a new thing for me, making video notes. You can go to the ERIC site and enter in a coordinate. Enter in our radius. I chose 3,200 meters, or roughly 2 miles. It's in UTM 15. Here's the point I picked. And you can pick a criteria of pollutant in this case. Particulate matter, because we're going to be working with public lab and Louisiana Environmental Action on monitoring that because we can. So these are then all of the permitted emissions within the 3,200 meters of that point, which I believe I picked the Donaldsonville primary school. And this is just a link to a local weather station for my own edification. I was going through and trying to compare them. When you ask for you can ask for permits, you can ask for actual, and you can ask for both. When you get both, it gives you two sheets, the actual emissions and then permitted emissions. And it gives you a lot of information, including UTM 15, Latin long, a EIQ point ID number, which is a field you can use to join tables or do the boring work of just matching rather than doing a table join. You've got this description, and among the descriptions, there's some interesting things. I guess we'll get into that. They have how big is the pipe, how hot is the pipe. You know, I-14, the gas is coming out of the pipe at 1,832 Fahrenheit, and it's less than a foot wide. Also should have how high it is. That's how fast it's coming out. You know, I guess all of which are important for a model. They have, you know, fugitive volumes, which are fascinating. And they also have hours of operation in the year, which is an important stat to look at. But I don't think any of them exceed 8760, which is 365 days times 24. And that's an important thing to note later, because it's going into some assumptions I make when I'm making some divisions. Location, emission rate units, and statistical basis. And I've sorted this page in hourly maximum because I'm interested in that hourly maximum. So this pipe at that location can only emit 9.32 pounds of PM2.5 an hour. They also have hourly average, and I'm totally confused if the hourly average in the permit is the same as the hourly maximum. That doesn't make any sense. Because an average, you're going to have things that exceed it because it's an average. Why would you make your maximum the same as your? It doesn't make sense. So I do think in some places we have okay, so that's the first question. And then we have the annual maximum in tons a year, and then pounds per hour, and then you can, you know, multiply by 8760, or divide by 8760 and then multiply by 2000 to convert between this number and an hour figure, I assume. I guess that's what I want to talk about. I lined these up and sorted it by statistical basis and the point ID number, so I could match them with this, you know, point ID number here. They have whether or not the source is active. They have different kinds of emissions, including fugitive emissions, which is understandable. That's in the actual, but I think in some places I've seen it in the permit. So that's interesting. Insignificant activities, interesting. Yeah, it's just interesting to look at these categories. But anyway, there are more, it wouldn't surprise you to know that there are more emissions listed than are permitted. And that's very interesting. And fugitive, you'd think would be the source, but it's more interesting than that. They actually have some of the things. How hot is it? What's the flow rate? The parish, the location, and then the actual tons per year. So what I did was, again, take this actual tons per year and multiply it by 2,000 divided by 8760 or 365.24. And I came up with a comparison. And then they don't all match. So this is me going through and, it's a mess, but I just wanted to pause before Thursday and present this to people. Try to check if I'm crazy. I have a simple logistical match column here in Excel. And the question I'm trying to answer is based on the annual actuals, what was actually permitted, was the hourly max violated at some time this year. And there's some things where we have emissions that don't seem to have been permitted. We have a number 1 urea granulator, and it's divided into A, B, and C. We don't really have an equivalent permitted point ID. So I'm trying to code it, but it seems like we should have a permitted number 1 urea granulator. I mean, I think that would make sense, but we don't have a permit for it. And that's really strange. It's not listed anywhere. Number 1 urea. Maybe I'm wrong. We have a number 1 urea cooling tower, plant emergency generator, which that's also a funny name to call something at the plant. It does generate emergencies, doesn't it? Yeah. Also a hurricane generator. That's kind of funny. But we have lots of things for which we have emissions, but no specified stack in the permit. And then we have other things that are permitted, but also no description, and also no measurements. So there's got to be some kind of mismatch here, that I'm missing. The data is bad. But where we can compare this EIQ number with each other, and they are equivalent, and I've got a true match, I can multiply the tons per year allowed to see if they exceed the hourly maximum. And in many cases, like this, they're allowed 46.4 pounds of PM25 out of the number 4 urea granulator. That seems like a lot for an hour. But notwithstanding that they're within the permit, 29 pounds every hour, which again, that seems like a lot. I'd want to know where that one is. I think that's the one by the school. I'm just trying to think pounds per hour. I mean, you could do something with the flow rate. And I think I've sorted these by the annual particulate matter that actually flows from them. So these are the big sources. Yes, they are. And this one is number 4 urea granulator by the school is the biggest PM source. And I believe that PM10 parallels this information. So that in itself is noteworthy. even though it's not exceeding its permit. There are other things that maybe don't rise. I mean, these seem to be significant, 2.5 pounds an hour, I guess, from each one, or maybe all three. It's interesting that they're listed as A, B, and C, but the measurement is exactly the same. So what does that mean? Uh, is it, I don't know. I don't know. It happens again here for this other urea granulator that doesn't seem to be permitted. Yeah. Oh, and does this match? This doesn't match. I'm sorry about that. This doesn't match. But there are some that match, and where it seems that the hourly pounds allowed exceed the when you take the annual actuals and you divide it by all of the days, there's going to be, during the year, some day at which it violates the permit. And so we've seen the number 6 ammonia plant hot vent. There's a lot more, 0.39, which is a lot greater than 4 thousandths. It's about 100 times what it should be. So maybe I should put a multiplier if I get one of these exceedances. I think that's right. It's roughly 100 times the amount that should be coming out. And that's if that's at the lowest possible level, right? Because you're assuming you're taking that annual number and dividing it among all of the days of the year, right? So that's the maximum amount you can divide it, and still it's above the hourly maximum. So I can see that, and that's not reality, right? That's not actually how this pollution is happening evenly at the same amount every day. But it does seem a problem that, well, one, there's two problems I see. One, this thing is pumping out more than that's allowed under the hourly maximum. And two, especially if it's only supposed to be operating seasonal, right? I assume that these guys are allowed to be operating every day of the year. And it's that number of days is 8,760. Again, that's the conservative assumption. So the lowest amount possible, you divided that yearly number up as small as possible, and it's 0.39, which is much greater than 4 thousandths and related by ID number 2-13. So it's exceeded by 100 times sometime during the year, and maybe all of the year. Maybe there are a couple of times during the year, or 12 times during the year, where it's 1,000 times, and then it's in compliance the rest of the time, but there's no way I can see the algebra working where there's not at least one day a year, and probably many days a year, that this number 6 ammonia plant hot vent is violating the permitted release of particulate matter. Furthermore, I don't understand the permit. Why would you write it? Because this amount, this 1.7 for 1213, let's take a look at it. Just remember 1.71. forgive me. Startup event 213. E 213. And if we look at the, yeah, and again, it's operating 8,000, it's operating every day of the year. It's got an hourly max. And presumably it's under my point of this, and I didn't find it, I guess, is that presumably there is an annual limit to this guy. And that annual limit might be even higher than 1.71. Sorry, I should have planned this out a little better. I only have an hour left. Anyway, could it be possible that the agency is setting annual emissions higher than are allowed at the hour maximum? Like they should be in algebraic relation. Okay. Saying, and here's another instance of the ammonia plant hot vent is very much in exceedance of 40 times, roughly, just looking at eyeball it, 40 times the amount. So my question, and this is way too long already, is are these exceedances real? Is my algebra about the hourly maximum correct? Could the permit be written badly? One, because it doesn't include certain things that are reported, and this is 2018, I should mention. And because it includes annual limits that don't make any sense when compared to the hourly maximum. So those are 3 questions. That's it. Thanks for helping me think about my presentations at Donaldsonville about the sources of pollution that are threatening the school. And I'll talk to you soon.